Hello, Bronco fans and football fans alike. Welcome to Week 12 preseason between the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown. I am your host, Bronco Bill. I hope everyone out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope that everybody really enjoys this Sunday's football game. However, we hope this game gets played. One player and two coaches tested positive for the virus on the Denver Broncos, so they had to cancel Wednesday and Friday's practice. Thursday obviously was off due to Thanksgiving. So the NFL right now is in limbo, hoping that nobody else on the Broncos tests positive on Saturday. If that happens on Saturday, the Broncos game could get pushed to either Monday or Tuesday. So that's the latest information I have as of recording here on Friday. So I don't know if it's actually going to be played, but if it is, it will still be at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. Last week I mentioned that, or I should say last video I mentioned that the Denver Broncos came out playing like I thought they would play all year. But due to injuries and the virus and no preseason and everybody, all the other teams go through it too as well. I get it. But Denver's been up and down for the entire year, except for last week. They played phenomenally. They have another tough opponent this week in the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints bring the same type of defense that the Miami Dolphins do. The difference is the Saints are 8-2. The Dolphins weren't 8-2, and aren't 8-2. I don't believe we're going to catch the Saints looking past us. They definitely, obviously, got game film on the game last week against the Broncos game against the Dolphins, so they know what to look for. So that being said, here are some stats that the Saints bring. The Saints. Let's see. The Saints defense currently is ranked third in total yards, second against the run, 11th against the pass. They also rank fourth in interceptions with 11 and third in sacks with 32. They're as good as it gets in the defense, and they are coached extremely well. But the Broncos will not be facing Drew Brees due to his injury. The Broncos are going to be facing Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom Hill is a second-year quarterback. The difference between Drew Brees and Hill, obviously Brees has experience and the NFL caliber and the timing down with the receivers and all that. But Taysom Hill has legs, and he can run, and he is a threat, just like last week when the Broncos faced Tua with the Dolphins. Now, Taysom Hill is a rookie by rookie standards, meaning that he hasn't really played more than, actually hasn't really started more than a handful of games for the Saints. But he does know their offense. He does come in on certain plays close to the goal line. His legs are a threat. His presence alone is a threat. But Denver will have to face him not a couple of times a game, but the entire game. So, how does Denver match up against the Saints in that powerful defense? Well, the Broncos do have weapons of their own, but there is a problem. Jerry Jeudy was limited in all practices, Tuesday and then the walkthroughs that they had on Wednesday and Friday, but now he's listed as questionable. That hurts. As well as Sylvester Williams is limited in practice and is questionable for the game. But on defense, Callahan did not participate in any of the practices. Same with Dotson, Glasgow, and Marshall. Well, obviously, Jeudy is a huge loss if he can't go. And Callahan and Dotson and Glasgow are huge additions that would be severely missed, especially Callahan on defense. Those those stats right there, or those comments right there, are very, very troubling because Jerry Jeudy is a weapon. I know we have Noah Fant, and I know that we have Fitzpatrick. I know that, but Jerry Jeudy is a weapon, and we need to have him on the field. Again, back to the question: how does Denver match up against the Saints? Well, they're going to have to play exactly like they did against the Miami Dolphins. Remember, against the Dolphins, they had 6 sacks against a rookie quarterback. Although he scrambles, Tua does scramble, but I don't know if he has the legs that Taysom Hill has. We haven't seen a lot of him because he's only in a handful of plays when the Saints are playing and Drew Brees is quarterback. So Hill doesn't really come in to play all that much except for a few plays during the game. So it's hard to get a read on him or any really game film as to how he drops back, how he reads the defense, how he goes through his progressions, when he gets happy feet, things like that. So Vic Fangio is going to have to come up with a defensive scheme much like he had against the Miami Dolphins. Remember, the defense got 6 sacks. They had 2 interceptions. One was called back due to a holding call. There were multiple confusions in the Miami Dolphins offense, and the Broncos took advantage of that. The Broncos also moved the ball. They held on to the ball. They didn't make drastic turnovers. Yes, they had an interception by that Drew Lock threw early. I think it was the first series against the Dolphins. Other than that, no picks. There were no sacks that were the Broncos gave up. Garrett Bowles, again, did not commit a holding call or any penalty for that matter. So the Broncos are basically going to have to play a perfect game. Now, no game is perfect, but by football standards, they're going to have to play a perfect game, which was pretty much like last week against the Dolphins. Now, there's another thing that we need to allude to, and that is the Saints have a running game. The Saints have receivers. And when you have receivers with a mobile quarterback with legs, that poses a big, big problem. So the Broncos do have their hands full. There's no doubt about that. Last week was a springboard, I hope, but then a setback again with the COVID virus bringing its ugly head again. This is the 3rd time in the last 4 games that the Broncos have missed practice due to the virus. Some of it was their fault. Obviously, if they're not practicing, it's their fault as far as having the virus. But they've also had their season altered back in week 5 with the Patriots. And so is that an excuse? Absolutely not. It's not an excuse. Every team's going through it. Some teams just adapt better than others. Obviously, the Saints at 8-2, they've adapted better. But now we have the Baltimore Ravens, and they've got issues. And their game was pushed back from Thursday to Sunday, and now it's pushed to Tuesday. So every team has to deal with the virus. Every team has to deal with things that are out of their control. But what the Broncos need to do, speaking of control, is control the ball. Use the clock and get touchdowns. Field goals are good, but they're not great. And we need touchdowns. And we need for the Broncos to be great, especially against the Saints, because they are going to come after Drew Lock. They're going to try and confuse Lock. They're going to try and get him happy feet. They're going to try and utilize the fact that he's young, that he may not have his number 1 receiver in Jerry Jeudy, number 1 receiver this year because Sutton's out. And so therefore, they're going to try and confuse him. They're going to try and use blitzes. They're going to try and use stunts. And they're going to try and really take away the run game. They're going to focus on Philip Lindsay. They're going to focus on Gordon. And the reason for it is they want Drew Lock to try and beat him. They feel that Drew Lock cannot beat him with the defenses that they're going to pose. And remember, I said that they are number 11 against the pass, but they're second against the run. And that hurts because the Broncos are going to try and run the game. And if the Broncos can't run the game, then they're in trouble, because the simple fact that the Broncos focus on the run. The run sets up the pass and takes the pressure off of Drew Lock. Now, if the Broncos can't run, then the Broncos are in trouble. But the Broncos were able to run enough against the Miami Dolphins to open up the pass plays. So that has to happen for Denver to have a chance. Now, my final comment on this week's game is simply this. Last week against the Miami Dolphins, they had a mobile quarterback that they were up against. Denver, like I mentioned, sacked him 6 times. Fangio needs to bring that same game plan, as well as mixing up some looks to cause confusion in Hill. If Denver can duplicate what they did last week and have that kind of performance, I feel they can win this game. Will we see that Bronco team of last week? Or will we see the Bronco team we've seen for the 6 losses this year? I sure hope we see what we saw last week, because last week was a game that the Broncos played absolutely almost perfect. And they are going to need that same type of game this week. The defense has got to put pressure on Hill. The offense has got to keep moving the ball, keep converting third downs, not have 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8. They need to have 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. The longest, I hope, is 3rd and 5. And they need to keep converting and move the ball. If Jerry Jeudy can't go, then we need to have Noah Fant step up. We need to have Fitzpatrick step up. We need these guys to make plays. And Drew Lock needs to use his legs like he did last week. And if he needs to get out of the pocket and scramble, then he needs to learn to throw the ball away if he's going to take a sack. With that being said, here's what I feel the final score will be. I say, all things considered, if Denver repeats what they did against the Dolphins last week, and they have that same kind of performance against the New Orleans Saints, I feel the score is going to be Denver 20, New Orleans 17. That's it. That's my take on the pregame show between the Saints and the Broncos. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving once again. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful football Sunday. We'll talk to you on Monday after the game. Bye-bye.